I believe everyone has a story to tell. And I believe everyone deserves a little pampering. Welcome to Mannies with Grannies. I'm your host, Tiffany Marino. Join me while I sit down with a woman over 70 and get to know her while giving her a manicure. Welcome to this episode of Mannies with Grannies. I'm here with Martha. Thank you, Martha, for having me in your home.
You're very welcome.
All right, we can take your hands out of here and we'll dry them off on the towel a little bit.
Okay.
All right, Martha, what color do you want to choose today?
I don't really do color on my nails, but this is a pretty shade, though,
Okay.
right here.
Yeah, okay, we'll try that. We were just talking about your transition into your home here. We are at the Suites at Rouse, and it's a beautiful facility. Continue telling me what you were telling me earlier about how you ended up moving here.
I visited my sister-in-law once a week and had lunch with her here, and I was so impressed with it that I said, I want to come here.
So it was actually your choice to come here.
It was my choice, yes.
Had you been living alone before moving here?
Yes, I lived alone for 3 years before I lived here. My husband passed away, and 3 years of being by myself, I didn't want to do that anymore.
Why didn't you want to stay living in the home that you had been living in?
I like people. I'm a people person, and I like to interact with a lot of other people.
How do you feel your life has changed since you moved from your home here to the Suites?
Well, it's a lot more exciting than it was by myself.
Do you feel like by living here amongst other people where you're able to be social that it maybe keeps you younger?
I think so, yeah. I feel that way. It keeps life interesting. There's so many different people. They're all different. I have a lot of good friends here, and we all help each other.
You mentioned your husband passed away 3 years before you moved here. How long were the two of you married?
63 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How'd the two of you meet?
It was a blind date.
What was your husband's name?
Raymond.
Who set you up on the blind date?
My roommate in Warren, her boyfriend was in the Navy. When he came home from the service, he came to visit her and brought his friend. I kind of thought he was dorky at first until he kind of grew on me.
What did you think after that first date?
He was so polite and opened the door for me and very thoughtful. So I thought, well, I guess this might go somewhere.
How long did you date before you became engaged?
3 months.
You knew pretty quick?
Yes, we both did. We went to Washington Park one day and he proposed to me in Washington Park.
Did he get down on one knee?
No, he did not.
Did he speak to your parents beforehand?
No.
Was that not a tradition then?
I don't know.
So you got engaged, and then how long were you engaged?
We got married right away. We met in May, and we were married in September.
What was your wedding like?
It was a small wedding at my aunt's house. We had a reception in her yard. It was not a big wedding.
How did you feel on your wedding day?
It was different. A little scary.
What were you scared about?
It was going to be a whole new life.
When do you think the scared feeling or nervousness went away?
Oh, I guess after the honeymoon.
What did you do for your honeymoon?
We went to Canada to a little cabin. It was very nice.
How long into the marriage did you have kids?
About a year and a half later, I had my first daughter.
Do you remember finding out you were pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
It was exciting. We were excited.
How many kids do you have?
3.
How far apart did you have them?
22 months apart.
Did they all get along growing up?
No, they didn't.
What was that like?
The girls were, I think, very competitive. Steve just tolerated them, I guess, my son.
Tell me their names and the order they were born.
Okay, Zoe, Z-O-E, was born first, and then Susan. We thought she was going to be a boy and didn't have a girl's name picked out. So when we had her in the hospital, we said, what are we going to name this girl? So it was kind of, just pick the name out of the air, I guess.
Do you know who said it first?
I don't. Probably me.
So we have Zoe, Susan.
And Stephen is my son. Stephen is the baby.
Tell me a story about the 3 kids growing up.
When they were first little, we lived at Endeavor, which is quite a ways in the country. My husband worked at the state hospital in the evening, so he drove back and forth from Endeavor to the state hospital.
Did you work at that time?
I did not.
Did you like staying home with the kids?
I did, yes.
What was your favorite part of being a mother?
Just interacting with them. I enjoyed them. We did a lot of fun things together.
Do you think your kids would say you're a good mom?
I think they'd better say that.
What do you think makes a good parent?
Enjoying your kids, not trying to push them too much. Let them be their own person.
Do you have any parenting advice?
No, not really. Just be yourself and do what comes naturally.
Are you a grandmother now?
Oh, yes. I'm a great-grandmother.
How does it feel to be a great-grandmother?
It's exciting. I enjoy them.
What's the best part about having grandkids and great-grandkids?
Well, they make you happy twice. When they come and then when they leave.
That's cute. So you were a stay-at-home mom. Did you end up working at any point?
Oh, yes. When I first came to Warren, I worked at the telephone company, and I loved that job. So I went back there and worked part-time.
What did you do there?
I was a telephone operator.
What's that like?
In the olden days, you sat at a switchboard and answered calls as they came in and connected them to who they wanted to talk with.
So at that time, you couldn't just call somebody else directly? You had to call in to the operator
Yes.
and they would connect you?
Yes.
And that's what you did?
Mm-hmm.
Was it hectic?
Sometimes.
Did you ever make mistakes?
A lot of mistakes.
What was that like?
Well, you just learned that you didn't do whatever mistake you made again.
Did people ever call back angry?
Yes. If they called back angry, you just connected them to your supervisor and let them handle it.
Do you remember how did you end up leaving that job?
When I had my first daughter, the hours were very erratic. You couldn't really work when you had young children at home because of the hours.
Did you like cooking for your family?
I did. Yes, I cooked a lot.
Did you have any signature specialty dishes?
My one specialty that I had and still had, and my children have, are my sugar cookies.
I love sugar cookies.
Yeah, my husband did too, and my neighbor that lived next door when we lived in Clarendon gave me the recipe and showed me how to do good sugar cookies.
What style of sugar cookie is yours?
Cut out sugar cookies, and we always decorated them for the holidays.
That's fun. I love those.
And my kids do that too.
They carry on the tradition.
They
That's
do.
so nice. And then the grandkids and the great-grandkids.
Yes, they still do.
Are you named after anyone?
My mother said she named me after the doctor's wife that delivered me.
Do you know if your mother went to a hospital to have you?
No, she had me at my aunt's house. She went to visit and went into labor there and had me there.
Tell me more about your parents.
My mother ran away and got married pretty young, I think. And my father was in the CC camp over in Doring, and she met him when he came to my grandmother's to get his mail because they had a post office at their house. So that's where she met him, and he was a Jewish fella from Pittsburgh at the time. So my grandparents were very much against the marriage, and I would imagine his parents were too, because those days Jewish people didn't marry out of their religion.
So they ran away and got married.
Uh-huh.
How long were they married?
Not very long. Long enough to have me, and I was just very small when they got divorced. He took her to Cleveland to live because by that time his family lived in Cleveland. She was very homesick. She didn't like it. I was a colicky baby, and they didn't believe in picking me up and cuddling me if I cried, and she couldn't live like that. So she would come home every weekend, bring me home on the train, then go back.
Where was home for her?
It was a little place before you get to Marionville. I know you don't know these places, but it was called Pigeon. So then one day she came home, brought me home to my grandparents, and she didn't go back.
Did you have a relationship with your father?
I did not.
Do you know if he went on to have another family?
Yes, he did.
Did you ever get in contact with?
I tried to find him. By the time I found him, he had already passed away a long time before that, but he had gotten remarried and had 2 daughters by that marriage.
Did you get in contact with the daughters?
I did not. I got in contact with a cousin. She was excited. She said she always wondered what happened to us. She was going to have a party at her house and invite everybody. But then my father's daughter, the oldest one, said, no, you don't have anything to do with her. I was disappointed because I was excited to meet everybody. But that's about it.
What point in your life was that?
My kids were all grown by that time. I waited till my stepfather passed away to even try and find my father.
Did you have a good relationship with your stepfather?
Not really. He was very strict. We lived with my grandparents for a while, and my grandfather had me very spoiled. So when my mother got remarried and I had to go and live with them, it was like a rude awakening for me. I was, let's see, how old was I? 4, I think, and my mother had another baby. She was 1.
Did you have other half brothers and sisters then?
Yes. I had a brother and a sister.
Did you get along with them?
I did.
Would you say you had a good relationship with your mom?
Yes, I did. Her mother died young. She raised 2 of her brothers because they were like 12 and 14 when my grandparents passed away. I have one memory of my grandmother that always stuck with me. Shortly after we were all moved into my stepfather's house, my grandmother came to visit, and it was Christmas time. When I woke up in the morning, the first thing I saw was my grandmother sitting under the Christmas tree in her rocking chair, waiting for us to wake up.
That's a sweet picture.
It is. My grandmother passed away when she was barely 50.
How old are you?
89. I just had a birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be 89?
I'm looking forward to be 90.
What's something that you're proud of?
I'm proud of my children and grandchildren. I have a grandson that lives in Switzerland now. I see him once a year usually. He's a research scientist. They research invasive species in the water and things like that.
That sounds really interesting and important.
It is important.
Would you say you had a happy marriage?
Yes, I did.
What do you think is the secret to a happy marriage, or the key to a happy marriage?
You just have to talk things out and help each other, take care of each other.
How did your husband pass away?
Had Parkinson's. Then he ended up with a brain bleed and had to go to the hospital. He passed away in the hospital.
How long was he living with Parkinson's?
Quite a few years. I think probably about 7 years before it finally got him.
How was that process for you, watching him go through that?
It was very sad, very sad.
Did things change within your relationship?
Yes, they did. I was the caregiver then.
How did that feel for you?
I just was glad that I was able to take care of him.
Do you think that was hard for him?
I'm sure it was. He was always very independent and took care of everybody else.
What are your hobbies?
I like to sew. I quilt. I make a lot of quilts. I made the quilt on my bed, in fact.
Beautiful.
I do a lot of crafts here.
How did you learn how to quilt?
I taught myself. Before my first grandchild was born, I decided I wanted to make him a quilt. So I just taught myself and picked up tips along the way from different people.
How did you learn how to sew?
My mother sewed, and she taught me how to sew.
Is that something that you passed on to your girls?
None of my girls sew. They weren't interested.
What's something you would want young people to know about getting older?
It's not easy. It's not a good thing, really. I mean, everybody gets old. But you can't just sit around and feel sorry for yourself. You keep moving and keep going and keep doing things.
Did you grow up in this area?
I grew up over in Marionville on a farm. We worked hard.
What kind of farm?
It was just a little farm. We had animals and there were a lot of woods there, so I kind of grew up in the woods.
Did you have certain chores that you had to do on the farm?
Yes, we did. We had to weed the garden and help with the haying and all that.
Were there any tasks that you just did not like to do?
Oh, yeah, picking the bugs off the plants.
Did you have a favorite task on the farm?
Maybe playing with the baby chickens.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember how you felt at high school graduation?
I felt that it was time to get on with my real life, and I went to work at the phone company right out of high school. In those days, you went right to where you were going to work and had an interview and hoped for the best.
At 89 years old, something that we don't like to think about, but is reality, is that you're toward the end of your life.
Yes.
Is that something that you think about?
I do think about that, yeah. My husband and I both donated our bodies to science. So if they research and find a cure for something, that would make me happy.
Do you have anything left on your list that you want to do in your life?
I always wanted to go to Hawaii, but I never went. And now I really don't care.
What do you think are the important things in life?
As you go through life, you have to remember to stop and smell the roses. I think that's important.
Do you have any wish for your family?
I want them all to be happy and enjoy life.
Thinking back over your life, is there a time when you were happiest?
Well, when we retired, we started going to Florida in the winter, and then we'd come back in the summer.
How long did you do that?
Let's see, from the time we retired, when we were, I think, 62, we retired, until my husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And then I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I said, I want to go back to my comfort zone. And so that's what we did.
So it sounds like you and your husband decided to retire at the same time.
Yes, we did.
How did you come to make that decision?
You never know how long you're going to live, and we wanted to enjoy the rest of our life without having a lot of stress. We had our own business, and when you have your own business, life isn't your own.
What was the business you had?
We had a little 5 and 10.
What was it called?
It was called Brewster's Family Store.
Where was it located?
Sheffield.
How long did you have it open?
Probably, let's see, about 15 years, I think.
Was it a business that you purchased, or did you open the store?
It was one we purchased.
How did that all end up happening?
We knew some people that lived in Sheffield, and the lady that had the store before passed away, and they said, you should buy that store. And my husband was all for it. I wasn't so much, but he was. So he talked me into it.
Did you work at the store?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Was it something that you ended up enjoying?
Yes, I did enjoy it. I got to know a lot of people.
When you decided to retire, did you sell the store or did you close?
We sold the business. We kept the building because we had an apartment in the building. Then we sold the building after that to my daughter and her husband.
Is the business still running?
No. The man we sold the business to ended up, he couldn't do it anymore. And instead of saying, okay, take it back, he had it torched.
How did that feel?
It was very upsetting because we tried to help him, and he was the kind of person that was very selfish and couldn't really help him.
How did it feel when you were first opening the store?
It was pretty scary, but the one lady that worked for us, we always said she came with the store, and she taught us everything we knew about running the store. She was a sweetie.
What gave you the confidence to be able to jump into it?
I really didn't have that much confidence, but my husband did.
Where do you think that came from?
I don't know.
Was that a common personality trait of his?
It was, yes.
Tell me something you loved about Raymond.
He was very good to everybody. He was a good husband.
What do you think makes a good husband?
Somebody that's thoughtful and helpful and kind.
Do you think he was a good father?
Yes.
What do you think makes a good dad?
They have to be involved with their children, do things with them, and teach them right from wrong. And
Would you like a nail sticker?
I don't know.
Little
Maybe.
decoration. There's some pretty flowers, little daisies. Little butterflies are pretty.
They are pretty. Yeah, that would be pretty on there, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have any talents?
I like to sing. I used to have a fairly good voice, not so much anymore.
What was some of your favorite music to sing?
Music in the 40s and 50s, old music.
Anything you want to tell me about? Anything you want to talk about?
Well, my husband, he would work any kind of a job, anything.
So he always made sure the family was taken care of?
When the kids were growing up, he always worked 2 jobs.
Were there any times where marriage felt hard?
Maybe when we were working at the store and we were working together a lot. We were together too much, probably. And it did feel hard, yes.
How did you get through those times?
We just worked through them.
Do you have any advice for me? I'm almost 40 years old, so approaching middle life. Any life advice for myself?
Just enjoy life. Don't get too caught up in everything that's going on. Like I told my kids, don't forget to stop and smell the roses. I told that to a minister one time when he came in my store and he was talking about something and was frustrated about something. And I said to him, well, just don't forget to stop and smell the roses anymore. And he was like amazed. And I mean, he was a minister.
You told him exactly what he needed to hear in that moment?
Yeah, I guess so. But I love people. I love all kinds of people. And I get involved with almost everything here that's going on. I like to do different things. And I don't like to do the same thing over and over.
Why do you think it's important to stay active?
It keeps you young. It does keep you young.
I'll take your other hand. Is there anything you miss about being younger?
I was healthier then. When I was 8 years old, I spent 9 months in the hospital. I was diagnosed with St. Vitus dance, which
I've never heard of that.
It has a clinical name, but I can't tell you what it is. The part of your brain that tells your muscles and everything what to do doesn't work right, and you have trouble with coordination.
So you had to deal with that your whole life?
No, I outgrew it, but they didn't know what to do with me when I first had it. They experimented a lot.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
What were the experiments like?
They tried different drugs and different procedures. One time they gave me this medicine once a week, and I didn't know what it was, but it made me deathly sick, and I threw up all day. My mother didn't tell me what it was till I was grown. She said, "Do you know what that was?" And I said, "No." And she said, "It was arsenic." She said I had to sign a paper so they could do that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. But they finally found something that helped. Aspirin. 8 aspirin every day. I had my 9th birthday in the hospital.
That sounds tough for a 9-year-old.
Yeah. I don't know. Nothing really seemed to faze me too much.
Do you think that experience affected the rest of your life?
I think so. I think I appreciated life more. And having a strict stepfather made me strong also, I believe.
What was your favorite age?
Probably about 15 or 16.
What was it about that time?
I was pretty much independent. I worked. I was a nanny for a 2-year-old for a while. I liked that job.
Did your family always have a car growing up?
A car, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I had a boyfriend once that had a Model A Ford with a rumble seat. That was fun.
Yeah. Do you remember living through any large historic milestones? Do you remember World War II?
Yes.
What was that like?
It was pretty scary, really. I had one uncle that went into the service, and I remember when he came home and when the war ended, it was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about the Vietnam War?
Yeah. I had a boyfriend that was in the Vietnam War, or was he in the Korea? Oh, I think he went to Korea. And in fact, I was going to marry this guy. But then when he came back, he was different.
The war had changed him?
Uh-huh, it had. So.
But you wrote to him and you were together while he was away?
Uh-huh, yeah.
And what was that like?
It was just it. I dealt with it.
Do you remember when he left?
Yes. It was pretty scary because I didn't know what was going to happen to him. And he didn't know either. So, yeah.
How often did you write to each other?
I wrote to him every week. I sent him stuff in the mail.
So he came back and you continued dating and seeing each other?
Yes, we did. I was working by that time at the phone company. So, yeah.
How did it end between the two of you?
He wasn't the same, and I couldn't deal with all that anymore.
Do you think you broke his heart?
No, I don't think so.
Did you ever look him up later in life and see what happened?
No, I didn't.
Well, we're finished the manicure.
Okay.
I think it looks pretty.
Yeah, I like it.
This was a nice conversation. Anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, let's see. I didn't tell you we rode motorcycles. My husband and I rode a motorcycle. He rode and I hung on the back.
What are some of the trips you took?
We went to Nashville one time with another couple, mostly just around here. We went to West Virginia to visit friends there, just mostly local.
And how did it feel riding together?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Yeah.
What did you like about it?
Just being outside and adventure.
It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the girls there can't believe I was a motorcycle mama.
I believe it.
Do you?
Yeah, you're hip.
I guess. I had to be, huh?
Well, thank you so much for having me here today and for talking with me. This was really nice.
It was very nice. I enjoyed it too.
And I think that we should note that this is Martha's first manicure. She said that she's gotten plenty of pedicures before, but never a manicure. So Martha, how does it feel to get your nails done?
Oh, it's wonderful. I love it.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Manny's with Grannies. I hope you enjoyed learning about someone else and maybe even learned a little about yourself.